Kind of figures that I can tell. So you're not paying attention to any anything fun too? It's like I started out today. He's generally a fun person.
Yeah. Do you have some
You gotta be honest. We're going corporate. Once you start getting used to a lot of that corporate. What?
What is your wife do for like the? You just you're about to.
Yeah, of course I should. I didn't. What comes, comes. Still never get it right. But at the end, it's
Makes sense.
normally it's not there.
They asked you to vacate?
Yeah.
No, don't. Yeah, I'm just yeah.
There might have been a couple spots.
I do, yeah. I did, I
But I, it's all done. I went and drove in the morning. I might have seen like with a little stuff. The other stuff. Should I continue? that right now.
Everybody, please take your seat. Can everybody please take your seat?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, over here.
Eve Board of Directors meeting is called to order. First, I'd like to ask our interpreters to explain how to access interpretation. Please go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Nasa from Interpret. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on the mute for original audio to activate the original Spanish show in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you're in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenos días. Aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presiona los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en el inglés, en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles por parte del servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor pedir auriculares a la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you. Now I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that the land that we call home, the tribal nations of the San Diego region, have historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples, who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory of homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from 4 cultural groups, the Kumeyaay Tequeño, the Luiseño, the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the Sanday community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from Indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences and in undoing the injustices of the past. Now please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Here.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation
to welcome Councilmember Contreras. Welcome to your first meeting of the San Diego Board of Directors. We look forward to working with you this year. I'd also like to announce that I am going to be pulling item 3.4 on the consent agenda due to a potential discrepancy in the amendments the Executive Committee recommended for approval last week. I've asked staff to look into this and bring this back to our next board meeting on February 27th. I'd also like to bring everyone's attention to the 2026 board manual, which has been provided to you today. It's right at your seats right here. And it's also available online for future reference. Our retreat, by the way, is coming up March 19th and 20th. You will see, you also have a brief survey at your seat. Please complete it and leave it on the table before you depart today. We're finalizing the retreat location and we'll share details with you very soon. In the meantime, I encourage you to plan to stay overnight as we will have an important Express Lanes discussion that will build off of today's item, first thing on Friday morning. Lastly, I'd like to congratulate staff, and this is a big deal, and announce to the board that Sandag has received approval already of our 2025 Regional Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy from both our federal and state regulatory agencies, rather than taking like 8, 9, 10 months. It took a couple this December, so good for us. The EPA's approval came in late January, and CARB recently gave their acceptance of our SCS submittal compared to the 8 months it took for our 2021 plan. Approvals from both these agencies means that critical federal and state, but money that our cities are eligible for as well. Thank you. I'll now turn it over to Mario.
Thank you. Good morning to all, and some of our updates. Well, Tuesday, Chinese New Year's Day to celebrate. Happy Valentine's for tomorrow, and also want to recognize that February is Black History Month this month. As the chair mentioned, our regional plan got approved both by the state and the feds in record time, and that's a lot to do due to the hard work, the outreach that the team did, but also a lot of the input that this board gave in the work together that we came up. We were checking on the history. This is the fastest approval that an RTP has happened for us at SAMDAC, in the history of SAMDAC. So we're very, very happy about that. This week I attended Mobility 21 in Sacramento. It's an advocacy trip for Southern California. We met with many legislators and the administration officials to bring up the need for additional funding for transportation. While in Sacramento, I also participated in the CalCOC meeting with fellow CEOs across the state from different regional planning organizations and MPOs. Also met with the governor's office and with the secretary of CalSTAC, the California State Transportation Authority. We discussed SB 375, LOSAN funding, housing issues, as well as multi-SIEs and cross-border issues. We are expecting that language will be printed and published on the SB 375 proposals that Senator Cabaldon is proposing. The team will be coming next week to the exec committee to present all that information. Regarding the refinancing of the bonds, you took actions. We had 5 times oversubscription on the bonds, so it increased our savings. Very happy to announce that we were able to refinance $324 million in Transnet sales tax revenue, where it's going to materialize on $1 over the next 22 years. So this is above this year, but in transport. This year, but in transport. You go step at a time, so we can go and move forward with those strategies and those future phases. So we're very happy. We appreciate Representative Vargas, Senator Schiff, Representative Peters, and Representative Levin for their continued support. And we have been in contact also with Congressman Issa on some potential earmarks also for East County, but we're still working with his office on this one. Last week also, in this room, we hosted, the CTC had their STIP and SHOP hearings. This is their two main funding programs that the state manage. The SHOP is the operational part of it. We don't have that much to do with it. It's substantially goes to Caltrans. But the STIP is a very important program that funds our transportation capital projects. So we were able to present our STIP proposals as well as other regions. We will continue to work with the California Transportation Commission, and they will be hearing our proposal and taking action next March on their March meeting. So very excited about that. And also we're on our climate, California Border Resiliency Plan. We have a survey going on right now, and this is gonna help us to better understand the impacts of climate hazards on our communities in the border region. Why is it so important? Because I always have said to whoever I'm talking to, if you're not in a planning document, you're not gonna have a project, or you're not gonna be part of a policy discussion. So there are gonna be projects coming up in the border region. There's also gonna be a USMCA renegotiation. And if we have documents that can codify our needs and our funding needs, but also the big picture in the border region, is gonna really put a good, strong point on more things, because it's well documented. There are multiple documents on many issues, including the Tijuana River issue, but the more things that we have that connect to each other, the better we are to be able to make our case with the different levels of government. So it's very important, this. And on construction updates on the Border to Bayshore Bikeway, first of all, I want to appreciate the communities, City of Imperial Beach, walking with us through this roller coaster of construction. We are in the last stretch. Hopefully we'll be paving 13th Street pretty shortly. We're locking in the dates based on weather. So there's communication going on to the public, but hopefully this will get us very close to finish this project. As well as I want to announce an absolute work window for the Lausanne rail project for next weekend, and this will be an absolute window, and this will be the weekend of February 21st, not this coming weekend. And also updating that our reception has moved to this first floor. We used to have the reception at the 4th floor, so the elevators were open to the 4th floor. Now our reception for the offices of SANDAC are in this at the lobby here, and then staff will come and get you and escort you to the 3rd or 4th floor. So we changed that procedure a little bit. And also our offices will be closed Monday, February 16th for the President's Day holiday. That concludes my report, Chair.
I'll really value your time and commitment to your community, as evidenced by your presence here or online to provide comment to this board of directors. Please remember that the purpose of public comment is to provide constructive criticism and relevant ideas related to the business of this agency and to the agenda topic that is being heard. First Amendment rights are honored here. During the non-agenda comment section, you can speak and share your comments on items that are not on the agenda, but are relevant to the business of SANDAC. We've always heard this, that went effectively. To that end, a reminder that we are not the county, we are not the district attorney's office, we are not the city of San Diego, we are SANDAC. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Michael to please begin with non-agenda public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. If you're online, please raise your hand now. And for the purposes of civility and an orderly meeting, we kindly ask that you refrain from using loud, threatening, profane, or abusive language. For our board policy, the amount of time allowed for each verbal public comment is determined based on the number of agenda items, the complexity of those items, and the number of persons anticipated to offer comment. This allows us to hear from as many people as possible to complete our business while we still have a quorum. Based on those factors, the Chair has determined that today's meeting, each member of the public will be allowed 2 minutes for their comments. And Chair, we have 4 in person and we have 6 online. First is Perita Javier, followed by Cesar Javier.
Good morning. We, Cesar and Purita, both seniors with existing medical condition and victims of ceramics manufacturing with kiln located, constructed, operated in 1984 in this ceremony designated residential zone. We are heard physically, mentally, and finally, since reporting our community concern beginning June 2021 and enacted by 11 elected officers of San Diego. Why? We do not live in fear.
No. Very.
Why? We now live in fear. Mathematically, we could only sense by proportion river valley pollution, air, water, land, environmental crisis. Response of the city, nothing except the presentation of Councilor Vivian Moreno of Border District 8 at Sandag that it began in 1993. Exodus.
Evidences.
Number one.
Thank you. Your time has
Legislation.
expired. Next is Cesar Javier, followed by allegedly Audra.
Sir Mario, we know the limitations of Sandag. This is an NGO. It's not the attorney's office, you're right. This is discussions, seeking for solutions. We dream for justice. Councilor Lacaba, I miss the smile of our mayor, City of San Diego here, who was seated here, and covers his face when we are trying to reach body language. We fear because there is a crime against society. We fear because there is a crime against property. We fear because there is a crime against person. There is a gross negligence. Not even a single centavo since the top regime to support the victims of San Diego's District 8, not to mention Imperial Beach, then mayor of Aguirre, Ma'am Aguirre. Thank you for the winning that seat, and you are now seated as governing board member of APCD. Air Pollution Control District is owned by Mayor Gloria since 2019. Beware, city leaders. The EIR, for example, the Sycamore landfill, close to my endeared city of Santi. Uncle Minto, please look at the threat to our health. We want to live there. That's why we always come there and join you in the council meeting.
Thank you. Your time has expired.
Thank
Next is
you,
allegedly
Mr.
Audra,
Ababa.
followed by Jeff Huter.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you, Sandag.
Once again, I want to remind you guys of the gross negligence, as he was saying, that is happening in the County of San Diego, is happening in each of your jurisdictions. You may not like to hear it, I don't like to hear that, but those children are about to have their family terminated by the County of San Diego, where they get new adoption, they're going to be adopted and they get new birth certificates when that happens and your family is erased. These children beg to go home. It is very profitable to sell children through foster care and adoption. Many of the Epstein victims are victims that have been trafficked in that way and continue to be trafficked. And for you guys to sit here and turn away and not even give a damn that that's happening, you're complicit in the crimes that are happening against these children and the abuse that is taking place. And it's really sad to see, because this is a battle against good and evil, and you guys are going to have to pick a side. It's not left or right, Republican versus Democrat. It's good versus evil. You pledge to that flag. You say one nation under God. Do you believe that? Because if you did, you would turn away and you would make sure, you would make damn sure, that no children in your communities are suffering like this. And it's sad because it is so profitable, and all of you guys, all you care about is your money that you get. Your money wars, you will jump through hoops for that. And this is what people get incentivized to do with Title 14 funding. It's to rip a family apart. When ASFA came in, Adoption and Safe Families Act, it opened the pipeline. And so they manufacture cases. They neglect to actually protect children. Children have starved to death in the County of San Diego because they refused to act. But when there is an abuse, they'll manufacture.
Thank you, board members. I'm Jeff Feuder, Chair of Neighbors for Better San Diego. We do a lot of trans with the now doing this countywide. In a couple of weeks, you're going to be considering SB 677, which is being touted as a technical cleanup of SB 79, and I'm sure everybody knows and is struggling with the impacts of SB 79. SB 677 is not a technical cleanup. It vastly expands the scope of SB 79. This includes moving the city of Solano, covered by SB 79, to becoming an SB 79. For those of you in North County, the Sprinter is already considered Tier 2 under SB 79, but by changing the level of service rules to go from daily service to weekday service, which treats people who work on the weekends, I guess, is not really important. But what it does is it moves all of the Sprinter stops one train a day away from becoming Tier 1 transit stops. So that adds another 20 units per acre that you have to accommodate, and you're going to have to redo all of your local alternative plans if SB 677 is adopted. And this doesn't just affect the city of San Diego. We've done extensive analysis throughout the San Diego or the Southern California region. The train stops at Irvine, Fullerton, Anaheim, and Santa Ana would become Tier 2 stops under this. Stops in Burbank and Glendale would become Tier 2. So this isn't just a minor thing, and it's not just a Solano Beach thing. And so hopefully when you consider this, treat it as a new and expansive bill, not something that's just a cleanup.
Next is Camilla Rang online, followed by Truth.
Good morning, board members. This is Camila Rang from Del Mar. I'm very happy to hear about all the funding money that is flowing into SANDAC, federal and state, as the chair announced at the beginning. That is wonderful. It is then a good time to provide each access along the 1.6 mile Del Mar Bluff, where the train tracks are prevented. This was agreed upon between you and the Coastal Commission in June 2022 as a mitigation for all the beach square footage that you are taking from the public for your bluff stabilization, so that you can continue running the train on the bluff until it has been relocated. Construction for the access across or under the track is supposed to start in April 2027, 1 year and 2 months from now, as in 3 years from the commencement of the bluff stabilization that started in April 2024. So I would like to ask, have you applied to the PUC for permits for construction? Have you completed any design? Have you secured the funds? If not, how are you going to be prepared to start construction in a year? This feels like something you should have started putting together a long time ago, but as I remember, money was taken from the Del Mar Mitigation Fund to instead build a bike path in Encinitas. Have you recuperated the funds to its rightful project, the Del Mar Mitigation? It's overdue, so please get started. Thank you so much.
Next is Truth, followed by Paula Bold.
Hey, it's Truth. Thanks for using my name instead of my number. Happy Friday 13th, stand that corner show. Let's get in the right mood with some double speak.
I think we're conflating exclusion with inclusion. To say that being more inclusive is exclusionary is precisely why we need to be more inclusive.
Can't make freeze, yep. You know, she even put North County and Jim Desmond on the board of the Bayshore Committee. Lisa has again respectfully asked for relevant comments limiting free speech to Sandyke's alleged jurisdiction, yet it's hypocritical that this board had discussions on federal law enforcement of which it has zero jurisdiction. I'd like to know why some of this board pretends SB 54 suddenly doesn't exist. Why the sudden artificial push to make it an issue, playing politics with our tax dollars and time. The fact is SB 54 applies to the legal immigrant community of which illegal aliens are not part of. 8 U.S.C. Section 1373 says that sending or receiving information regarding a person's immigration or citizenship status to or from federal immigration enforcement, end quote. The Arch Login Street Pop-up says law enforcement shall not use any non-criminal history information. However, entering the country illegally is a crime. At past Sandyke, it was admitted that every highway has a device that collects data on innocent American citizens, and that data is even shared with other cities and states. And severely injured on Marine and Julian is not shared. This agency and this state are saying that truck drivers, rapists, and murderers don't matter a centavo. Only deportations do, right? The removal of immigration-related records and felonies out of the ARCH system is directly impeding law enforcement at all levels and is in itself a federal crime, and we call that aiding and abetting. How dare you?
Next is Paula Bold, followed by Teresa Valenzuela.
Good morning, Sandy. Happy Valentine's Day and Chinese New Year. Hope there's an update from the Audit Committee and an update on what data Argus is sharing with other agencies, which ones, and is it properly keeping sensitive data confidential? Too many ICE violence and murders and all of both Americans and immigrants. Now, AB 1421 for a gas tax study is a good idea. And there are a few other considerations which play into the proposed study. Currently, California collects 61 cents per gallon in gas taxes, which help pay for road maintenance and infrastructure. That revenue has been decreasing as more drivers switch to electric and other clean energy vehicles. Gas car users should not have to pay all of the taxes for road repairs. And especially since gas-powered cars are less expensive and used more by lower-income persons, gas-powered vehicles should not be paying all of the tax. EVs and other non need to pay a similar tax for fuel. Road users charged on gas, EV, hydrogen powered or other, if implemented equally, would be a heck of a lot fairer. But there are two important reasons why there should be charge on EVs. One, EVs are heavier and damage the road more. And two, EVs also require more extensive fire and medical services that catch on fire. So I hope you will get a...
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Teresa Valenzuela, followed by Consuelo. Teresa, you're self-muted.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Teresa Valenzuela, founder of Well Legal Platforms. I'm here to ensure that the 2026 work plan involves the infrastructure required to break the 5-mile invisible wall. Currently, our power wheelchair users are capped at a 5-mile radius because the battery. When we break this wall, we activate a multi-billion-dollar buying power of the disabled citizens, veterans, and seniors. The NextOS is world-class digital brain for our regional flow, but it currently has an accessibility blind spot. By 2030, nearly 25% of San Diegans will be seniors. If NextOS cannot track, power, and guarantee access to this demographic, the system is obsolete before it's even finished. This isn't a social service issue. It's an economic mandate. When citizens are homebound by battery anxiety, San Diego loses economic output of its fastest growing demographic. The city was just awarded $6.9 million for smart growth, and I'm identifying the Totus Creek and Balboa Park projects as the ideal living labs for our R&D. We must ensure that these bikeways and park improvements are truly complete by including the physical handshake for mobility users. The Master Mobility Plan is a great foundation, but to be functional, it requires secure vandal-proof charging stations. As the principal consultant for Well Legal Platforms providing Accessibility OS, the virtual AI handshake that manages the secure power, I'm asking this committee to agendize the technical briefing for the Accessibility OS in your 2026 work plan. Let's make San Diego the first city in the world that offers a virtual handshake to its micromobility.
Next is Consuelo, followed by Marco Espinosa. Go ahead, Consuelo.
Okay, just before you start my time, majority of what Audra was saying was not audible. It was like I don't even want to describe it, but you could barely understand what she was saying. She was going in and out, so I just wanted to state that for the record. Okay, Consuelo here, another San Diego retreat. You know, it's exhausting to see how elsewhere. For the less fortunate in our county. And those updates from Mario were also discouraging. You act as though the bikeways are being heavily used. People don't have the luxury or the free time in this county to pedal a scenic route. And it's such a backward system, I swear. But yet, here we are, and here's my constructive criticism. SANDAG should be working effectively to accommodate the people's needs and not the globalist agenda. SANDAG continues to behave as though our county is thriving when it doesn't take much to look around and see that our county is anything but thriving, from our homelessness issues to our struggling families trying to stay afloat. Regular inflation contributes to, and all of it is due to government failure and incompetence. But the reality is that the system is perfectly flawed. The majority aren't supposed to thrive. The little government worker bee slaves are the ones who are rewarded for their good deeds in keeping the system working. It's all so gross, inverted, and sad. SANDAG continues to try and strong-arm hypocritically requesting what to say and not to say, while they themselves do the opposite. Sandec continues to work and implement policies outside the jurisdiction of our county, yet requests that the ones who come and speak stay on topic. And I heard words to what's happening within our county. It's just also gross again. And,
Thank you. Your time has
I just gotta wake
expired.
up.
Next is Marco Espinoza, followed by our last public comment, Blair Beekman.
Hello, testing, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Marco Espinoza. Just want to say virtually present and happy Valentine's Day and a respectful Ash Wednesday. I yield back to the chair.
Sorry again. I'm really missed of you. Yeah, Blair Beekman, thank you for the meeting today. Thank you for seeing my hand. Thank you for the words of Marco Espinoza. I thought that was nice to hear. I guess my public comment today, and non-agenda public comment time, is Truth offered some powerful words that reminded me that I think we have to be working on the future of RGIS issues together as a whole community process. We have to better understand RGIS and work. RGIS is currently trying to develop even more clear practices and straightforward direct practices. At the previous Public Safety Committee meeting, we have to address that. I think it's a problem, and we're not addressing that. You have to come up with doing this work. Look at key work. We have 2 data collection centers in San Diego that collect serious data for federal or state agencies that we can just rely on and ask for RGIS to be more of a ideal practice, I think, for best practice. And there's certain practices we do need to be working on, but others we can simply relegate to different and large data collection is in need of a side practice. I think we have to consider concept of that and departments that we are this, and we have a big discussion this time to work on those efforts. From that, as always, as I've been saying, I hope we're really working on the concept of de-escalation and demilitarization of ICE in San Diego. The federal government is working on 3. I think we should all be in agreement that we can be together in addressing those concepts and de-escalation and demilitarization of ICE, no matter your position on
Thank
the
you.
current,
Your time has expired. That concludes our non-agenda public comment, Chair.
Thank you, Michael. Any member non-agenda comments? I see none. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Michael, do we have any public comments on the consent agenda?
Yes, if you're online, please raise your hand now. In person, we have Caesar, followed by allegedly Audra. And this is a consent agenda. Please consent please limit your comments to items on the consent agenda only. Please state, just a second. Please state the consent agenda item you're speaking to. If comments are not related to the consent agenda, you will be asked to stay on topic. If you do not stay on topic, you will be muted.
3.1, 3.2, 3.3, any number you wish to hear from us. My God, thank you, we're still surviving. We're happy because it was attended by 29. We only, just to recall and look back, we need him, like the other mayors, attending consistently in this University of Life. On 3.2, my guardian angel here is looking at me whether I will be off or tangent from this discussion. This is grace that it should be conforming with the call of times. We heard you discuss about not only about mobility and transportation, but other elements like shelter, like society, like caring for our habitat. Councilor Lakawa was then the chair of Environmental Working Committee. It's a refinement, continuing refinement. Thank you. Thank you for your discussion. We are hopeful that we could survive in our twilight years, personally and community-wise. 3.3, to be accurate.
Thank you. Your time has
performance
expired.
of the NGO
Next is allegedly
is
Audra,
low.
followed by Paul Bold online. Please identify what consent item you are speaking to.
It's interesting every time I speak, when I'm talking about children being abused, somehow the audio has issues. The chair has said, can you turn the volume up? We can't hear the speaker after me. So it's very negligent what you guys are engaged in, and it just shows that you are even more complicit than people would think. Talking about Argis and, not wanting them to share data. It's interesting to see what you guys will do to protect illegal aliens. I'm pretty sure that Bill Wells is the only one that had the balls to stand up against it and try and stop that kind of stuff from happening. I didn't see you guys get upset when people were being raped and murdered by them
Please
in our own
identify the
communities.
consent item you're speaking to.
Yes, the minutes. And you guys sit here and you care about free speech, yet you sit and you impede it. You try and silence it. To be making any decision when you're engaged in things that are going against the oath that you took. And when you're willing to protect people that are destroying our communities, there's a reason why funding gets cut. There's a reason why. And again, I told you guys over and over while you sat and said the border was secure. Children have died in this county and have been raped in their own bedroom by people who have crossed illegally. And you want to protect them. And you don't want that data shared. But you're willing to share our data and collect it to use it to put us in your little 15-minute cities that you guys are creating under the United Nations agenda that none of you want to admit. So that in itself is treason. You guys should be the ones in jail.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Paul the Bold, followed by Truth. Please identify the consent item you're speaking to.
Policy Advisory Committee stuff. Paul Bold, by the way. Not much to see here. Looks like notes from Borders Committee, the Regional Planning Committee, or the Chief Sheriff's Management Committee. Disturbing for the transparency of public operations, or were they on a pre-Valentine's Day spree or break or whatever? The meetings and events attend more interesting to Sandag. Has there been any change in Del Mar corridor relocation? I know Maria spoke of some project, but not about the overall relocation. Is there a more realistic sighting of the new cracks? Are they going to get eroded in a few years? It would also be good if we could get a report on how long the weekend closure of the Los Angeles corridor will continue and what alternatives were discussed, if any, at the meeting. Can Sandag help? Hope the surfliner is safe too, by the way. Approval of the meeting minutes. Here comes a list of names like the Oscars. Who did what on the consent agenda? public speakers and board members actually discuss without having to find it on the video.
Next is Truth, followed by Blair Beekman. Please identify the consent agenda item you're speaking to.
Sure thing, Michael. Item 3.1. The minutes say the January 23rd meeting was backwards official. It was not, however, able to convey the full-blown IDS, Ice Derangement Syndrome, that was on full wrong jurisdiction display. The minutes do, however, clearly state that the people who did not stay until the end of the meeting and are therefore clearly losers include Joel, Dane, Evan, and maybe even Esther. If you got facts, the new stand-up address on unit, not
Brad Beekman, and we can find a good middle ground between all of our sides at this time. With that said, January 23rd. Unimportant, we have the card and what to the board meeting.
I'm telling you, I just will finish. Which I.
Andrea Abbey. Andrea Abbey. Speaking on the to be on the record. This is not for fun or theater or fame. This is to help contribute. It's actually all of ours. So when we participate in information that we took the time to participate in information that we took the time to research and understand and we took the time to research and understand and when I was talking about the kickbox, situation that's happening in San Diego all around, it just can't be ignored. So you keep
Usually. Unanimously.
I just want to clarify that the slide says 3.1 if you're just 3.1 or 3.3. Just
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to Managed Lanes 101 presentation. Mario, are you going to introduce this? And then
group presenting today from our neighbors and their experiences. This will be to discuss. So any journey starts with the first 4 decisions that we will be presenting to.
And the 805. So today's presentation is really foundational. We're going to, take a deep dive into what managed lanes are, more specifically expressing managed lanes rules. So at the end of the day, at the board, we managed lanes. Managed lanes are not one thing, but it's a broad term that people efficiently by vehicle occupancy, time of reversible lane. Today's discussion is to ensure that the lanes maintain a really high level to encourage ride sharing. So for example, lanes are free for carpools, van pools, and transit and ready for construction, the I-5. So why express lanes? Express lanes are effective and a flexible solution for reducing congestion and ensuring reliable. Lanes take traffic off of the general purpose lanes. It improves traffic. And you'll hear later in the presentation, create a really seamless travel. These maintain below a certain level. The federal government expects that the operating agency strategy and bring that facility back up to an acceptable 5 and 805, as I'm sure you'll hear about that from Alan in a moment. Our very earliest regional transportation plan back in the early 1970s had 15 express lanes. And that network continued to expand in the 2000s. The voters approved managed lanes and the extension ordinance in 2004. SR 125 toll road out of Bangor. Progression.
Good morning. As Antoinette said, we were the first in San Diego. We were with in the type of urban environment, lots are in the county or too friendly. And change over time because traffic and patterns are not static. And so we're constant. And that's where the managed lane system plan comes in. Existing managed lane system, and out of it, do we need to update the rules? Are there gaps? Family service, and so that's why the managed lanes have a key piece. Family service, and so that's why the managed lanes have a key piece of that. Transportation plan and regional transportation plan informed that Antoinette was talking about closing the gap on 805 between 94 and 52, right? We've got managed lanes north and south with 52, right? We've got managed lanes north and south. We've got this gap in the middle. And so those are pieces. 78 and 70. Some of them 78 and 70. Some of them they are degraded. And that was our aha moment from
determine how the facility is. Bring the slide back up at the end of the presentation so that you all can react to it and provide some comments. Lanes and consistent with our partners.
To degrading a lane is that we're not meeting our federal requirements on that managed lane, so we need to change the strategy.
Rules are intended to support those. Pricing structure. Are we going to adjust the price based on congestion levels and manage congestion through pricing? Eligibility and access. Who's allowed to use the facility? How do they access the facility? Occupancy. Is it 2+ or 3+ for cars to access the lanes for free or at a discounted rate? Toll collection. Are we going to require transponders or some other technology to pay tolls? And will there be exceptions? And then enforcement. How will we enforce the facility? Will we continue to partner with CHP for that? And what is the penalty for violation? So all of these are questions that we need to answer with your help over the coming months to develop those business rules. We also need to decide who operates the managed lanes, and there's different operational models around the state. In our region, SANDAG has been the toll authority, and that's consistent with our neighbors. But there are examples of other types of operational models like the JPA, or Joint Powers Authority. So that is a collaborative formed by 2 or more public agencies. A recent example is I-80 in Yolo County, where SACOG, the MPO, and the Yolo Transportation District and Caltrans formed CARTA. There's TCA, the Transportation Corridor Agencies in Orange County, and that consists of different cities and counties as members. And then in some parts of the country, managed lanes operations are privately operated through different types of public-private partnerships. So the I-395 in Virginia, VDOT owns the facility, they set the policies, but a private vendor carries out the operations. And then State Highway 130 in Texas is privately operated, privately maintained by the SH-130 concession company. So now I'm going to hand it over to first Riverside and then Orange County to talk about their operational models, their goals, their policies, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions. And I do want to offer, if you have technical questions, feel free to raise your hand. We're happy to answer those while we're going through.
Good morning, and thank you for having me this morning. I'm Jennifer Crossan, the Director of Toll Operations for Riverside County Transportation Commission. RCTC operates the 15 express lanes and 9 express lanes in Riverside County. We also own and operate 2 buildings near the intersection of the 15. One building serves as the Regional Operations Center Toll Operation Systems Maintenance team. We're setting various express lanes and recently awarded a progressive design build contract for the southerly Sorry, should have been automated. The blue line on this map is OCTA exit from the OCTA lanes, continue through the RCTC lanes, or enter the RCTC lanes. The gold line is the existing 15 express lanes operated by RCTC, which is made up of 4 tolled segments. The green circle is where the 91 and the 15 are joined together with 2 express connectors, one in each direction. With the adoption of the toll policies for each of the Commission's express lanes, the Commission has adopted the express lanes goals shown on the screen. It is this set of goals that drives the operation of the express lanes. In 2002, Assembly Bill 1010 allowed OCTA to purchase the 91 Express Lanes franchise from the California Private Transportation Company. AB 1010 also eliminated the existing non-compete clause that prohibited any capacity-enhancing improvements from being made to SR 91 until the year 2030. The elimination of the non-compete clause allowed much-needed improvements to be planned and implemented within the SR 91 corridor. In 2008, SB 1316 authorized an extension of OCTA's tolling authority to 2065, and for the Commission to impose tolls and fees for 50 years, and to construct, operate, and maintain the tolled facilities on the SR 91 in Riverside County. SB 1316 also required the creation of the State Route 91 Advisory Committee with specific responsibilities. This advisory committee is composed of board members from RCTC and OCTA. SB 1316 requires an annual implementation plan for SR 91 improvements. Consistent with legislation, OCTA and RCTC, in consultation with Caltrans, coordinate and complete the SR 91 implementation plan on an annual basis. This plan includes proposed projects and completion schedules for transportation improvements along improvements to Metrolink, Express Bus, the express lanes, freeways, interchanges, new east-west highway corridors, and high-speed rail are all included in that plan. OCTA and RCTC have a commitment to providing a seamless experience for customers traveling the 91 express lanes across 2 counties. The fundamentals that frame our joint operation are outlined in a cooperative agreement. The agreement initially served to ensure the construction of the extension was coordinated with OCTA to minimize disruption to their then operating 91 express lanes. It has also set forth the principles for joint customer service and traffic operations. It includes principles for joint contracting, cost sharing, and sharing of customer accounts and joint marketing. OCTA allowed RCTC to enter the existing 91 operation as an equal operating partner. This partnership has resulted in synergies among staff and contractors, the evaluation of new technologies and legislative requirements, resulting in a fiscally prudent operation which provides a high level of customer service. This relationship is unique in that we truly operate as partners, allowing us to have a voice in all elements of how we conduct the operation. The formation of this partnership took over a decade, and we have been operating the 91 express lanes together for almost 9 years. OCTA and RCTC are proud of our ability to work together to deliver excellent customer service in the achievement of our respective goals. In this photo is a walk-in center of a joint walk-in center for the 91 express lanes and the 15 express lanes, further extending our partnership. The 8-mile extension of the 91 express lanes into Riverside County was part of a 1.4 corridor improvement project. The project was financed by issuing toll revenue bonds and with the use of measure funds. The RCTC 91 express lanes has approximately received increased investor ratings with each year of operation. The corridor improvement project included the construction of the express lanes and the addition of general purpose lanes and auxiliary lanes, and improved interchanges, ramps, and local streets. In 2017, RCTC opened the 8-mile extension of the 91 express lanes between the Orange County and Riverside County line and Interstate 15. The original 91 express lanes project included an express connector to the funding only allowed for construction to the south. In 2017, the Commission received an additional $180 million in Senate Bill 132 funding to construct the then shovel-ready $270 million connector to the north, completing the 91 Express Lanes project. The new connector opened to traffic in 2023 and provides a direct transition between the RCTC operating 91 Express Lanes and 15 Express Lanes. The direct connectors between express lanes allows RCTC to provide users a seamless transition through one of the busiest interchanges in the nation. The direct connection of the 91 express lanes to the 15 express lanes through tolled express connectors is a unique element which has not been replicated in the United States. Some highlights for the very popular Riverside County 91 Express Lanes. And by the way, the 91 Express Lanes has exceeded its projected transaction volumes from the first day it opened. With the 21 million annual trips, the 91 Express Lanes generates over $100 million in revenue annually. As I mentioned, the joint operation with OCTA is unique and helps to minimize operating costs, which has led to over $98 million in improvements to the 91 corridor funded by surplus toll revenue. The 91 Express Lanes westbound during morning peak period saves drivers 15 to 25 minutes, and the eastbound afternoon peak period saves drivers around 5 minutes. The 91 Express Lanes debt is scheduled to retire in 2049, at which time the Express Lanes will be turned over to the state. Moving on to the 15 Express Lanes. The 15 Express Lanes is a Section 166 value pricing project that cost $472 million. It was funded with a road in Corona to the SR 16 near the San Bernardino County line. In 2024, RCTC paid off the TIFIA loan after only 3 years of operation. The loan payoff freed up funds that were required to be held in reserve, removed restrictions that impacted our ability to extend to the south, and reduced administrative requirements and borrowing costs that were prohibiting our extension to the south. The payoff schedule was a 2-year plan that will be completed this year. The 15 Express Lanes has 34.5 million annual transactions and generates $54 million a year. The customer service and traffic operations are separate from that of the 91 Express Lanes, but the 2 Express Lanes share the same on-road toll system provider. The 15 Express Lanes saves morning commuters about 5 minutes, and the afternoon commuters 10 to 15 minutes. The terminus of the southbound express lane is severely congested due to the narrowing of the 15 general purpose lanes at its final segment. Thus, the extension to the south being studied and planned for. I was asked to touch a little bit on how policies are determined. During project planning, policy underwent the same process and also included the solicitation of comments from the SR 91 Advisory Committee as required by staff ordinance. And I'm going to turn this over to Kirk.
Thank you, Jennifer. Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, CEO Orso. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this panel this morning. As introduced, my name is Kirk Avila, General Manager of OCTA's Express Lanes programs. I've been at OCTA over 30 years, and at that time I was able to participate in the acquisition of the 91 Express Lanes that Jennifer talked about, as well as work on the construction of the 405 with respect to the tolling elements. Here you see both of our Express Lane facilities that are included in our portfolio. Having worked on as well as the construction of the 405, I can say From my personal perspective, it was a lot easier purchasing an ongoing enterprise than building one from the ground up. On this page, you see a number of statistics on the 91 as well as the 405, but one thing I do want to highlight is similar to RCTC and Jennifer, OCTA has a very limited dedicated tolling staff, but we do utilize a lot of the resources of OCTA, for example, procurement departments, government relations, or construction. In addition to that, we also contract out with various vendors. Here's a map of Orange County that highlights the express lanes for both of our facilities. The blue on the eastern segment of the slide shows the 91 express lanes connecting into Riverside County, and on the west you see the 405 express lanes connecting into LA. When you look at the travel pattern data for the regions, we do see that more people come into Orange County from San Bernardino and Riverside using the 91 express lanes. And that's because of the fact that housing is less expensive in that area and traveling into Orange County for the jobs. And a similar situation exists with the 405 express lanes. We have more people from LA County traveling into Orange County. And as my CEO likes to joke around, he says that the LA County is Orange County's largest suburb. The 405 express lanes acquiring a facility similar to what we did on the 91 express lane. So here focuses in on the map of the 405. You can see the Interstate 405 freeway traverses the county at an angle, and yet you have the streets and roads on a grid basis. So that made the construction of this project very complex and extremely expensive. But this map also highlights the fact that there are various ingress and egress points on the 405 express lanes, which differs from the 91 express lanes. Each one of these segments are priced separately, and if you take the entire length of the facility, the most expensive route is $25.95. The minimum toll rate is for the entire segment $2.65. One thing I did neglect to mention on the 91 express lanes, our maximum toll on the Orange County side is $9.35, and $1.95 is the minimum toll. In Orange County, we have a half-cent sales tax that's called the Measure M, and the Measure M program allocates 43% of the taxes to freeway programs, 25% to transit programs, and 32% for streets and roads. As part of the freeway program, we did have a 405 improvement project. The purpose lane in each direction. Also had improvements to local interchanges, bike paths, sideways, and streets and roads. But about early on in the scope of that project, our board elected to add an additional HOV lane to the project. It combined with the existing HOV lane to convert both of those into an express lane. Total cost of the project, as you can see, was a little bit more than $2 billion. And of that $2 billion, the majority of that was funded through our half-cent sales tax program. However, the toll road portion was financed with a TIFIA loan. Jennifer talked a little bit about her experiences with the TIFIA loan. On the 405 express lanes, the entire amount of the express lanes was funded with the TIFIA loan, and therefore dedicated to pay back the TIFIA loan. We do operate under a 40-year agreement with Caltrans for the facility. And on this page, you see some of the operating aspects of the express lanes. It is tolled on a 24/7 basis. We do have a traffic operations center that takes a look at the corridor with all the cameras feeding into this center. We do price based upon congestion-based pricing with valid accounts. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we are minimally staffed, therefore we do contract out for a back office service provider, customer service center provider, in-lane systems. We do have an enforcement contract with CHP, and then we do contract with Caltrans to handle maintenance in the corridor. Getting to tolling on the 405 was not easy. You would think with respect to OCTA and owning and operating the 91 express lanes for a period of time, it would be an easy path. It was not for us. Those board members that were around when we purchased the 91 express lanes were not around necessarily when we made the decision to go to tolling on the 405. This provides a little bit of a timeline of our process and what we did at OCTA. One of the first things was to select an ad hoc committee member of board members, and those board members were board members that represented the corridors that that toll facility was going to be placed. Educate them and go through various different business rules, policy decisions, financing processes, financial plans, so on and so forth. So about a year later, after creating that and after spending a lot of time with these board members, we did take our initial toll policy to our board for approval, in addition to a financial plan. And at the same time, we were going through the process with the California Transportation Commission to get tolling authority and submit the AB 194 application to make sure that we were able to get tolling in the facility. But all in all, if you go through the entire timeline, it's about 8.5 years from when we started that ad hoc committee members to when we opened the toll express lanes in December of 2023 to get to that point in time. As Jennifer mentioned, she highlighted the goals in there for the 91 express lanes, very similar to OCTA. These are our goals, and these are publicly adopted by our board and included in our toll policy for the 405 express lanes. The first three goals really highlight and focus in on throughput, providing predictability and congestion-free travel. The last three bullet points focus in on making sure that to pay for the bills. Now, as we sit back here for OCTA, it's been about 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years and 3 months since we opened the 405 express lanes. We have done performance. Has traffic been like for the public using that 405 corridor since we've opened? We highlight what traffic looked like prior to construction. Blue bars, October of 2017, and then the orange bars represent before after the project and the express lanes have opened. This slide focuses in on the HOV lane as well as the express lane. So the October 2017 is the HOV lane, and the speed that it took to get from one end to the other, basically from the SR 73 near South Coast Plaza, if you're familiar with Orange County, all the way to LA County line. So the travel amount of time that it took for that pre-project was about 37 minutes heading northbound, that's shown on the left-hand side, and southbound is shown on the right-hand side, about 33 minutes. And you can see after the HOV lanes were converted to an express lanes, how the travel times changed and dropped significantly. Dropped northbound about 22 minutes and about 16 minutes on the southbound direction. In addition to looking at the HOV as well as the express lanes, we also took a look to see what was happening on the general purpose lanes. So this slide shows the same sort of data in the same format that the previous slide. However, it does focus solely on the general purpose lanes. So you can see the blue bar represents it took about 36 minutes to travel that 14-mile corridor. And since we've opened the express lanes and added the general purpose lanes in the corridor, the travel times dropped to about 24 minutes. So an improvement of about 12 minutes on the northbound and an improvement of about 6 minutes on the southbound. So individuals that never pay a toll or never use the express lanes because of the general purpose lane improvements that we have added have benefited from our project. I mentioned earlier with respect to our toll policy and our goals, we are about throughput, making sure that we can move the most people through that corridor and the most cars through the corridor. But as a result of pricing for that throughput, there are excess toll revenues that are generated. And these excess toll revenues are above and beyond the operational through a number of years on the 91, develop a policy for what to do with those extra funds, and we're currently going through that same process on the 405. With respect to the 91, in both Orange and Riverside County, reinvested invested back into the corridor since OCTA acquired the 91 express lanes. And with respect to the 405, we are generating excess toll revenues. However, because of the financing component that we have in place with the TIFIA loan, those funds are tied up in the trustee and won't be available for OCTA until 2029, 2030 time period. So we're using this time right now to develop an expenditure plan and how those funds are going to be used. Now, I mentioned OCTA acquired the express lanes, 91 express lanes back in 2003. So over the last 23 years, OCTA has a lot of experience with respect to managing and operating a toll facility. In that time period, we've had the opportunity to recession, pandemic, what happens when you raise tolls, what happens when you lower tolls, and also what happens when you add general capacity, the competition right next to the express lanes. So with that experience, we've had some lessons learned, and we applied those on the 405 improvement project. You can see those are listed here. Meeting with the stakeholders and community is very important. OCTA during the construction period had approximately 600 meetings with constituents along the corridor. Another takeaway and lesson learned is setting up realistic timelines. I've had the opportunity of working on 4 different back office deployments, and every single one of them have been late, whether it's been late a couple months, a couple days, or a year. I thought it was me, but I'm talking to my peers. I did realize that we're not the only ones that have had experiences with delays with back office systems. But with construction as well, there's always delays with respect to weather, archaeological findings. When you have multiple agreements that need to be executed, sometimes that takes a lot of time. So really having a contingency plan in place for timing is really important. Next lesson we learned is transparency. It's very to make sure that they are aware with everything that you have in place. Our toll policies that went through our board of directors were debated. They were included with press briefings. Everyone knew what we were doing and how we were doing that, and that was very important for us and our board. And then lastly, with the express lanes, we're in the service of providing a benefit of moving a person from point A to point B. And for that person, you have to run that operation like a business. And in doing so, you have to be very disciplined. You have to have checks and balances. You have to have policies in place to know if there are funds, where are those funds being generated, where those monies are being expensed, and if there are monies left over, where are those monies going to be invested back into the community. So those are our lessons learned, and that's my presentation. And thank you very much. And happy to answer questions.
All right, thank you both. So we have a lot of conversations that need to take place to inform our regional policy. We need to confirm those goals. We need to have conversations about the business rules, operational model, outreach, meeting our federal and state requirements. And that's the first step, really, in getting to the AB 194 application. AB 194 application is the application to the CTC, requesting that we can toll the lanes on the 5 and the 805. And our goal is to submit that funded, and they have some funding deadlines, so we need to get started on implementing those projects. And this is really the roadmap for getting there. So later this month at your next meeting, you'll be having a conversation about the back office system. We'll be bringing you a budget amendment to move money into a CIP for the regional system development. We're working on toll and revenue studies, so we'll have a traffic and revenue study, so we'll be bringing that to you. Caltrans has been doing an equity study and doing a lot of outreach on the corridor, so another topic that we'll be bringing to you as well. So today, we really do want to get some initial feedback, though, on the goals. Again, this is just the first bite at the apple. It's not the only opportunity you're going to have to weigh in on this. We'll leave the slide up for discussion, but we did cover a lot of material today. I'm sure you have questions for the panel, so I want to provide adequate time for that as well, and I'll hand it back to the chair to go ahead and kick that off.
Thanks so much to all of you. Okay, board, I'm going to see if you have any questions only of our panel, and then we'll go to the public, and then we'll go to comments and statements, okay? So I have people up on the board. I'm going to ask if yours is a question. If not, Supervisor Anderson, you're up first.
Thank
Do
you
you have a
very
question,
much.
Yogi? Yes, I do.
The question I have is of HOB to express lanes. And I want to make sure I understand it, so I know, but I'm not quite sure about it. I want to be correct. The express lanes would be for like buses and things like that, but would the public be able to purchase their way onto the express? Would that exclude HOV cars from using the express lane?
Well, we'll have a lot of conversations about who you want to access those lanes, but we're assuming they'll operate like the I-15, which are currently free for HOVs, carpool, vanpool, transit, and single occupant vehicles can enter for a fee, and that fee is adjustable based on congestion levels.
Thank you very much for that. I was most concerned that people who are working hard to carpool on their own wouldn't be punished. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mack?
I think also just to add, Supervisor, the equity study that's being done is also going to look at other areas that could be looked at, like customer breaks, discounts, different things. Those are different strategies. We're not saying it's happening. You, the board, decide all that, but we're working on all that menu. Other states are doing it also. Military discounts, low-income discounts. So all that has to be looked at. So that's why this big journey of a conversation. But at the end, I think the important thing is this board is the one who decides that. This board decides if HOVs of the 2 or more people can go free, or HOVs of 3 and more people go through. Those are different things to be considered. We will bring you the objective information, and the board decides what are the rules that will govern.
I would have given my opinion, but I was told I could ask a question.
And it's accurate. Okay, Ms. Maxon? Same line as a comment after. Very good. We will keep you up on the board. Councilmember,
We're going to be coming to you. We'll provide you with objective information, as Mario said. We'll share how other folks are doing it, lessons learned, and you all will help make that decision. And I guess, again, that's something that the board will determine. Yeah, the state law changed on that though last year, so clean air vehicles no longer get to use the lanes for free. Perfect. Okay, and then I'll wait for my comments.
Councilmember Gasser.
Thank you. Mine is a question. Appreciated the discussion from Mr. Avila on the minutes saved in the managed lanes versus the not managed lanes, because ultimately that's how we measure what is the benefit. It's minutes saved. So I'm wondering, could you briefly describe the more complicated formula that's probably behind that, where there's the managed lanes minutes, the non-managed lanes minutes, but the baseline is really, if there were no managed lanes, what would the non-managed lanes minutes be? So how do you calculate that? And how do you count cars and figure out what the total savings in minutes is?
Thank you, Director. And as I mentioned, I am the general manager of the Express Lanes. I am not the data analyst that did the calculations. However, I do know a little bit about how the calculations were made. We did look at different resources with respect to counting the vehicles and the data. For example, in the 2017 time period, we did utilize Caltrans's PEM system for vehicle count, so those count the number of vehicles based upon the loops on the road. In addition to that, there's a firm we used called INREX. That was all done prior to 2017, and then in 2024, we did have individuals out there counting the number of vehicles.
Antoinette, and this is regarding the national. New York and New Jersey, do they not have dynamic pricing? They were not on that slide. Oh, and this was Alan, Mr. Costa.
Just to be clear, sometimes there's different terms for different models, right? So like New York City is using coordinate pricing, it's dynamic. It isn't a managed lane system, so that's probably why it's not on the list. So different tools in the toolbox.
Thank you.
To Supervisor Gary, question?
Yes,
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to our panelists for making the drive down here and for your presentation. My question was already asked by Supervisor Anderson, but I just want to put it on the record that I'm interested in equity-based, efficient travel. So I think that's very important. You already addressed the equity study. I think that's going to be very important. But my question has to do with, we heard about efficient times. We heard about how to run it as a business model, but I didn't quite hear the specific pros and cons of either having a private-public partnership, public-public, or private-private. I guess that wouldn't apply to us, but you see what I'm saying? So I would like to see a breakdown of what the benefits are and what potentially could be the challenges in addition to equity-based pricing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Shield?
Thank you very much. Thanks for the presentation. I think this is, I didn't bring my glasses. It's Kirk. Yeah, okay, so OCTFA, at least actually this probably goes through all of you guys. Are there economists doing like analysis about the economic impact of having managed lanes? Like, do we end up seeing GDP growth in the region, what have you, by now having this type of model?
Yeah, so we do employ economists similar to probably Sandag to look at specific projects and economic benefits of projects and how much benefit there is to a particular project. After the fact and the time savings, we have not incorporated that yet in our economic models with these individuals, but when we do like an improvement project, they'll say, 100,000 jobs were added to the county because of the fact that the construction jobs were part of this project. But to answer your specific question, not since we've opened the facility have we done that analysis.
I think beyond like just jobs, it's speed of efficiency, right? So
time savings that then equate to savings, similar to what we do with our, let's say, our border wait time study and economic impacts. So they did some of that. Now, have they done all this as an aggregate, like Kirk says? Not since they opened up, right? But there was multiple economic and environmental analysis to prove.
I think that's a great sense of justification for us to also good tool. As the last question I have is just in regards to the excessive revenue that you weren't expecting. What have you guys done?
Because as I mentioned, the 405 is still tied up. But over the last 20 years, we've used those funds for some internal funds. OCTA excess funds were then used to repay back that plus interest. But specifically in the corridor, prior to ours, to add general purpose lanes, we've used it to do solely invested in the express lanes because they get an added general purpose lane or they get a restriped lane. Or familiar from Orange County, the express lanes run from the 55 to the county line. But if you're heading towards LA County between the 57 and the 55, there's an ongoing project right now. It's over $500 million, and all future excess toll revenues are dedicated to that particular project for the improvements, the bridges, the interchanges that are the tasks for that.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mayor Ayers.
Yeah, I have two questions. First one, I think this goes to Jennifer. On slide 24, I don't know if we can, we're looking at 91 cost per transaction, or price should be, was roughly 102 million divided by 21, or roughly $5. And then on slide 27, on I-15, it looked like it was more, the same kind of math, it was about $1.50 to $2. And obviously price setting affects who takes it, who doesn't take it. Tell us about the dynamics, why the difference there, and how do you set prices?
So the price, both facilities are dynamically priced. So we have an algorithm that's pricing them. They start with a floor, a minimum toll, A minimum toll is based on a time savings per mile minimum amount, so it's real small. It's like less than 40 cents a mile. Our minimum toll on the 91 is $30. The 15 has 4 segments, so some of those toll segments are 50 cents, 45 cents, and then it goes up as congestion happens. So we have these really long during our peak periods. As you saw in the photo that I had up for the westbound, we have quite a bit of congestion on the 91 westbound in the morning for about 4 a.m. till about 9:30 a.m. There's so much demand that we have a backup for people to get into the express lanes, and with dynamic pricing, you know, we have the carpool HOV3 traveling for free. That accounts for about 25% of the people using it, so they're not influenced by price until November 1 for us, January 1, because we gave an extension on it for the clean air vehicle folks. That was another 6%, so we had 31% not paying a toll. So we're trying to influence 69%. We have some other discounts for disabled vets and disabled plate owners. You start to work down to who's being influenced by the price. And when you're in a fully congested peak period, we'll tell you the pricing isn't terribly effective. It'll keep some people out, but at some point you can just keep increasing it until, you know, where are they going? That's the daily, you know, battle for us. And of course, you could make these tolls $50 and make it a ton of money, but at some point it's just not justice. Right? So we're holding the tolls for the max peak period because there's not another option for these drivers. You know, and that's, as a regional transportation agency, we're concerned about that to effectively manage during peak period. So you could think about that. Maybe there's an off-peak period discount that's offered versus the peak period, so congestion pricing can remain effective. We currently have a similar issue to that issue on the 15 southbound terminus where it drops into a narrowed GP lane. So we're trying to widen that with a future express lane extension. It's hard with the state mandate of no additional lanes on the road. So we've done some things like turn an auxiliary lane with the extra money, turn an auxiliary lane into a GP lane, and everything we can do with that. But again, the dynamic pricing does its job to a point, but then you end up capping it if you're in a really congested scenario where there's not an option.
So my takeaway is there's quite a bit of nuance to the pricing model, so thank you. I actually got way more answer than I thought, but I appreciate the complexity and that our goal spot to reflect that. My second question is actually for Kirk, and it would be slide 30. You know, one of the things I was thinking as you were speaking is, I want performance data. You know, I want to see what, in this case, on this one, 39 and 40, we showed the drop with and without the, or I should say, for people on the managed lane versus not on the managed lane. This is really valid to show the improvement. Were there other changes, though? Were there lanes added as a total? And in order to really understand the impact, can you explain any other changes that might have sped up traffic overall?
Yes, Director. When you look at this data, as I mentioned earlier, as part of the 405 improvement project, we added an extra HOV lane with the existing HOV lane. So that is adding one lane on this slide that's on